Thank you for joining Red Deer Public Library for this program on boosting bone health, nutrition for healthy bones. We're joined today by Joanna Lowe, dietetic intern who has been studying at the University of Alberta and working with Alberta Health Services, and she'll be giving us a presentation today. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you can add those to the chat, and at the end of her presentation, Joanna will respond to your questions. Thank you. Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. So as Kim alluded to, my name is Joanna. I'm a dietetic intern from U of A, and I'm joined by Shelley Cooper, a registered dietitian based out of Red Deer as well. So she'll be helping me with those questions after the presentation, hopefully. So today we'll be talking about boosting bone health. This presentation is meant to give you some general information about nutrition for healthy bones and help answer any questions that you have on this topic as we move through today's class. Just before we get started, we wanted to ask you if you had any questions on nutrition and bone health that you were hoping to be answered in today's class. You could just pop those in the chat box or just enter them on the Facebook live stream. We can just get to those, I guess, after class, but we'll proceed for now. So we'll try to incorporate those questions throughout the presentation and kind of touch on, hopefully, some of the topics that you wanted to know about. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into things. So why are we concerned about keeping our bones healthy? Our bones do a lot to keep us up and running about in our day-to-day life, such as supporting our body through everyday tasks like standing and walking, protecting our organs, and helping our muscles work. While many Canadians live healthy and active lifestyles, many others become less active over time, and low activity can lead to a decrease in muscle mass and an increase in frailty, which can increase the risk of falls and fractures. So eating and living well will help keep our bones and muscles healthy. So today's plan is to do an overview of nutrition and the recommended eating pattern for our overall health. We will then dive into specific nutrients for our bone health, including calcium and vitamin D, the importance of protein and staying active, as well as other considerations in our day-to-day eating pattern that may impact our bone health over time. At the end of today's class, we will speak to free sessions that are available through the Alberta Healthy Living Program, so offered over the phone and online as well, to continue your learning on nutrition for health. After today's class, if you feel you would benefit from a one-to-one support with a dietitian, information on how to book an appointment will be posted on the last slide as well. So using the Eat Well plate that can be found in the newest version of Canada's Food Guide is an excellent starting point when trying to prioritize health through eating nutritious food. This eating pattern has been shown to help reduce the risk of and manage chronic diseases such as heart disease and diabetes while improving our overall health and helping us meet those requirements for energy, vitamins, minerals, as well as fiber. So using this plate model as a tool to prepare healthy meals and snacks throughout the day by filling half of it with vegetables and fruit. These can be frozen, and these can also be canned as well, but just making sure you're rinsing them before. You can also do, also making sure you're filling a quarter of your plate with whole grains. These will help better our heart health and blood sugar management because of that fiber that's in those whole grains. We recommend having at least half of your grains in a day be whole grains as well. These can be things like brown or wild rice, whole grain breads, pastas, oatmeal, and quinoa as well. These carbohydrates and grains also provide us with glucose, which is the primary energy source used by our bodies so that we are able to do those activities that we enjoy most. Last but not least, we also want to be filling a quarter of our plate with protein foods. And these can be lean meats like lean beef, chicken, turkey, pork, as well as fish, plant proteins such as soy, chickpeas, lentils, and as well dairy like milk, cheese, and yogurt. So the role of protein foods, emphasized in the pink square on the slide, will be our focus for our talk today, as these foods play a particular role in maintaining our muscle mass and bone health as well. Apart from food, we also recommend making water your drink of choice. Water is a great way to stay hydrated and doesn't have added sugar, unhealthy fats, or salt in it as well. Feel free to pop some questions if you have them at this point into the Facebook live stream, and we can kind of deal with them after. It's kind of hard to see them at the moment. So now we are going to talk about calcium and vitamin D a little bit and why they're so important for bone health. Almost all of the calcium in our body is found in our bones and teeth. And here it supports their structure, and doing so keeps them strong and healthy. Vitamin D, on the other hand, also helps keep our bones strong and healthy by helping our body absorb the calcium from the foods that we eat. And our muscles also need both calcium and vitamin D to function properly. Maintaining both our bones and muscle strength is incredibly important for reducing our risk of falling and breaking a bone. So calcium and vitamin D also play an important role in heart health. Meeting our requirements for these nutrients can also help lower the risk of a heart attack and stroke. So some food sources of calcium and vitamin D, as I mentioned, are illustrated in this slide. So by eating calcium and vitamin D rich foods every day, we are more likely to get the calcium and vitamin D that we need to keep our bones healthy and strong. Some calcium-rich foods include milk, enriched plant-based beverages, hard cheeses like cheddar, Gouda, mozzarella, or Swiss. In 1.5 ounces, you get approximately 300 milligrams of calcium, along with plain yogurt is another good source of calcium, calcium fortified tofu, canned salmon or sardines with the bones in, as well as almonds. Some food sources of vitamin D. These can also be found in salmon, rainbow trout, milk that has been fortified, enriched plant-based beverages, eggs, and canned tuna as well. However, these foods do not provide us with enough vitamin D to meet our requirements. As you may know, we can also make vitamin D from the sunlight. However, since we are in Alberta and don't get the right sun rays to make enough vitamin D year-round, plus it may not be safe to get all our vitamin D we need from the sun. So because it's very difficult to get enough vitamin D, we recommend that all Albertans take a vitamin D supplement. So for Albertans over 50 years old, 1,000 IU international unit daily supplement is recommended. So this is about 25 micrograms. For Albertans 50 years and under, a 400 IU or international unit. So 10 micrograms daily supplement is recommended. So looking for a vitamin D3 supplement or vitamin D2 if you're looking for a vegan form of vitamin D. It isn't recommended to take more than 2,000 international units of vitamin D daily from supplements unless advised by your healthcare provider. So what about other supplements? We want to try our best to meet our nutrient needs through food first. So by following the Eat Well plate that I mentioned earlier in this presentation, because to make a well-balanced diet that can help us meet our vitamin and mineral requirements. However, adults over 65 years who are not eating a well-balanced diet, or those struggling to eat regularly throughout the day, including a multivitamin to help meet their requirements, may be beneficial. If you are concerned that you are not meeting your requirements for certain nutrients and such as vitamins and minerals, please speak to your healthcare team for more guidance on this. So protein foods are also important for staying strong and healthy while we age. As I kind of mentioned earlier, protein helps us maintain muscle and weight which are important for our bone health as well. Protein is also needed for healing, repairing tissues, and supporting our immune system. As we get older, however, we may not include enough protein or other important nutrients. And if we don't include enough protein, we can't maintain that muscle mass that's so crucial to maintaining bone health as well. If we have less muscle mass, this can lead to fragile bones, falls, fractures. In other words, protein helps us stay strong, active, and mobile. Some examples of protein-rich foods include meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. You'll notice that a lot of these will also have those vitamin D and calcium sources as well. Dairy products are also another good source. So also getting your calcium and vitamin D there, but also getting protein from those is very beneficial. And getting things in like nuts, seeds, beans, lentil, and tofu. Try to eat a protein food at least at every meal and snack to show what this can look like. We have some examples on this next slide. So using the examples on the slide, you can come up with easy ways to add protein into your diet. For example, you could add in 1 or 2 snacks a day that have protein foods in them. This could be yogurt, cheese, or a handful of almonds. An easy way to incorporate protein at meal times would be to add a glass of milk on the side alongside water instead of water as well. How much protein we need per day depends on our body size and activity levels as well. So if you're struggling to include regular meals and snacks and are concerned about meeting your protein needs, we encourage you to connect with a dietitian one-on-one to help you strategize on how you can meet those needs. So protein helps us to maintain and increase muscle mass, to engage in activities for bone health, and this helps us to reduce the risk of falls and fractures to prevent further bone loss. So 4 great activities you can do to strengthen your bones are strength training, such as weightlifting and exercise, using those resistance bands, posture exercises like standing and sitting with good posture. This one really has me sitting well today. And then balance training such as Tai Chi, dancing, and walking on your heels or toes as well. Aerobic exercises like walking, dancing, and climbing the stairs are also recommended. Try to be active every day as well. So you can start by picking 1 or 2 of the activities and try to make it part of your daily routine. For example, when you're sitting down to eat or watch TV, try to be mindful of your posture and try walking around on your toes. It is recommended to do strength training twice a week. This can be done by lifting weights or resistance bands, as shown in the bottom right picture. We recommend aiming for about 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week. If you're not regularly including exercise, you could start by doing even just 10 minutes of exercise each week and slowly building up from that each week as well. So also note that the 150 minutes don't have to be in consecutive bouts. So you can break this up into 15 10-minute exercises over the week or any other division that works with your routine. Schedule your exercise by doing walks with friends, taking the stairs, or even taking up some dancing lessons. So make it fun. If you would like help with goal setting and getting more active, we have resources we can speak to at the end of today's class to help you get started as well. But before I move to the next topic, please feel free to put those questions into the chat box on Facebook Live, and we'll definitely get to those after the presentation. Now we're going to talk about some other considerations for bone health. So we talked about protein, calcium, vitamin D, and how those are really essential for us maintaining our muscles and also forming those really strong bones and keeping our bones strong. But other considerations for bone health may be things like salt, coffee, and alcohol as well. So eating too much salt or sodium is harmful to our bones. Other important reasons why we want to try and limit the amount of sodium and salt we eat daily is to promote better blood pressure and also keep our hearts healthy as well. So for adults, the upper limit is set at 2,300 milligrams. So this is about 1 teaspoon of salt. The average Canadian actually far exceeds this and has about 3,400 milligrams per day of sodium, which is about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So how can we kind of try and limit the amount of salt we eat? So we can do this by cooking with herbs and spices instead of salt. So this includes actually things like garlic salt and onion salt. We want to not be having those kind of spices and herbs as well, seeing as we have some sodium in there. We can also do this by taking the salt shaker off the table, so we're less inclined to add salt at meals. And also by reading nutrition labels to see how much sodium is in them and in the ingredients and foods that you're buying. Choosing fresh food and foods with no added salt, so paying close attention to this when buying canned beans and vegetables or anything in a can. So always opting for foods canned in water and rinsing the canned food before adding it to meals, and choosing canned foods that are the label of no salt added. Eating less ultra processed and packaged foods like hot dogs, chips, and instant noodles are also great ways to limit your sodium intake. But not surprisingly, most of the salt we eat actually comes from having those processed and prepackaged foods and not from adding it at the table. But every little bit helps. So where you can cut down on your sodium intake on a daily basis, it all adds up in the end. So here, speaking of nutrition facts tables, they can be found on almost all of the foods we buy and eat, but how do we read them so we can make the best choices for our overall health and bone health by choosing wholesome foods? So the nutrition facts table is designed to give us information about the nutritional value of the food. It contains information on how much of a nutrient is found in the food by weight, so in grams, milligrams, or micrograms. You can see this one, it is in mils, or as a percentage of daily value as well. So this is shown on the right-hand side, so that column saying percentage daily value. So when reading these nutrition facts tables, we want to look at the serving size. So you can see at the very top, just right under the title, it says per 1 cup. So that's their serving size for this product. And then we also want to look at the percentage daily value, like I alluded to, which is shown in that right-hand column. So percentage daily value of 5% or less is considered a little, whereas a percentage daily value of 15% is considered a lot. So we want to be trying choosing foods that have 5% or less of our daily value of sodium, just because we want to be choosing those foods with little to no added salt whenever possible. So if this was a can of soup, we could choose a soup that is labeled with no sodium added or reduced sodium as a lower sodium alternative. But if you are interested in learning more about label reading, the Alberta Healthy Living Program once again offers a label reading class. So more information about these classes will also be presented in slides closer to the end of the presentation. So as I mentioned earlier, aside from salt, caffeine is also something that we want to take into consideration for bone health. Too much caffeine can also harm our bones by decreasing the amount of calcium our body stores. So Therefore, it is suggested we limit caffeine to 400 milligrams or less a day, which would roughly be 2 cups of coffee, as 1 cup of coffee contains about 150 milligrams of caffeine. It is also important to know that caffeine is not only found in coffee, so we can also find caffeine in colas, so your pop drinks, tea, and energy drinks as well. So keep your teeth stain-free and strong by limiting your caffeine intake to 400 milligrams per day. The last thing that we want to touch on and consider when trying to keep our bones healthy and strong is alcohol consumption as well. So having too much alcohol can also harm our bones. If you drink alcohol, Canada's alcohol drinking guidelines for individuals aged 18 to 65 recommends a maximum of 2 drinks per day or 10 drinks per week for women, and then a maximum limit of 3 drinks per day or a limit of 15 drinks per week for men. It is important to note that if you are not consuming alcohol or if your alcohol intake is below these limits, it is not recommended to increase your alcohol intake, as these are only limits and not targets. So for individuals over 65 years of age, we have different recommendations though, because as our body ages, our body processes alcohol more slowly, so it can be actually more harmful. So for these individuals over 65, it is recommended that women limit their intake to 1 drink per day and have no more than 5 per week. And then men, on the other hand, limiting their intake to 1 to 2 drinks per day and having no more than 7 in a week. So 1 drink, you might be wondering what that is. It's about 12 ounces of beer, so 355 milliliters, or 5 ounces, so 150 milliliters of wine, or 1.5 ounces, so 45 mils of hard liquor. And yeah, before we move on, if you do have any questions, I do encourage popping those into the chat function in Facebook, and we'll definitely deal with those after. But yeah, to sum up everything that we talked about a little briefly today, we recommend following an eating pattern like the one illustrated in the Eat Well plate. So as this pattern has been shown to help reduce the risk and manage chronic diseases, as well as improve our overall health over time by helping us meet our requirements for energy, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So having that half plate of veggies and fruits and filling the 2/4 of your plate that are left over with whole grains and starches, as well as protein foods. We want to also emphasize eating protein foods to help meet our protein requirements, as that can help us maintain our muscle mass and also get some added calcium and vitamin D in our diet, both of which help us to maintain our bone health. Because it is challenging also to get that vitamin D here in Alberta due to our limited sun exposure, it is recommended that we drink at least 400 to 2,000 international units per day of a vitamin D supplement. And lastly, keeping active is just important for our bones and muscles. So we do need that nutrition, but also that physical activity component to make sure you are boosting your bone health. If you wanted to know anything more about this topic, we have a nutrition class called Staying Strong and Healthy as We Age, as well as some Alberta Healthy Living classes. This one that I just mentioned and that is shown on the slide as well is a class that is a free Zoom workshop for seniors who want to learn practical ways to stay strong and healthy while aging. So this workshop will guide you through how food can help maintain strength, the 4 key pillars of activity, tips to make meals easier, and the importance of social connection as well. And we'll put the link for the Alberta Healthy Living classes in the chat box or in the presentation at the end. If you are interested in other nutrition classes, the Alberta Healthy Living program has plenty of options for a lot of different topics for you to choose from, and they are all free and accessible via Zoom, and we'll put those in the chat box as well. If you have any general questions about nutrition, you can call HealthLink and ask to speak to a dietitian as well, and just calling 811 for that. But otherwise, I want to thank you so much for logging into Facebook, kind of joining us today. And I would like to open the floor up for questions if people have any. Thank you, Shelley, for putting those into the chat box. I'll just share them here. So another way you can also access and see that course catalog for the Alberta Healthy Living program is just Googling Alberta Healthy Living program, and then you could just type in classes as well. And it should be bringing you to a window where you can see a list of all the classes that they have, links to those, and how to register. All the information you can find in those in the website as well. But, it is my pleasure for the resources. We are happy to provide them, whatever you guys want and we can help with. So I think we'll probably wrap up for today, but once again, thank you so much for coming, listening in and tuning in. If you are keen on learning more about bone health, calcium, vitamin D, any other nutrition topics, definitely check out the Alberta Healthy Living program, and see what classes they have and what kind of fits your needs. But otherwise, I think we'll be good to go for today. Thank you so much.